Sharpe has traveled the country and has personally visited every county in New York State, listening to people's concerns. The Sharpe Way is a show where answers, solutions, and common ground can be found so that together we can forge a new way forward. The Sharpe Way is the way to mutual respect, where no one has to convert to be heard, because you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want, as long as you aren't forcing your beliefs on others. Welcome to Sharpe Way Radio.
Oh, yes, it is Larry Sharpe. Sharpe Way Radio here on the Voice of Liberty. The number to call after the first break, 585-346-3000. You know, a lot of stuff's happening in New York State, as is every week I do this show. But I started thinking about something, and it's going to sound odd. Yes, I know you're like, Larry, another odd story. Yes, as always. I sometimes tell people that I know a decent amount of trigonometry. You might say, wow, you know some trigonometry? I do. Well, Larry, are you like a mathematician or something? No, not at all. And I'm not like great at it, but I know a bit of it. Where did I learn it? Well, must have been in college. No. Well, must have been in high school. No, neither of those two. So where was it? U.S. Marine Corps. Yes, U.S. Marine Corps. I learned trigonometry in the Marine Corps. Why? Well, because when I joined the Marine Corps, I was part of artillery. And you may or may not know, but to be able to fire artillery effectively, to figure this out, you have to be good at trigonometry. But Larry, we have computers. True. And even when I joined in the 80s, we actually had computers there too. We did. They weren't the same as now, obviously, which is heavily computerized. But back then, we still had computers. I was part of one of the survey teams that literally was testing GPS. I'm not joking. I was part of those teams that was testing it. So we had computers. So why would they teach me trigonometry? Literally out of a book, right? The field manuals, the book slide rules. I'm not joking. We had wooden and plastic slide rules. Why? The reason was, in the military, you recognize that you might not be able to have technology. It might be destroyed. There could be an EMP blast. Back in the 80s, we were concerned about that. Whatever. Maybe it wouldn't break down, get blown up, whatever. And you got to be able to fire that artillery. So we learned the books and charts. And we called it back then charts and darts. So we called it. So we learned that. I go, Larry, that sounds amazing. That's valuable. And why we should always be learning the basics. Well, yes, and we still had to know the computers because we very rarely ever used the old school charts and darts. Was it nice that we knew it? Yes, it was nice. But we only used the old school as a practice just in case the world was ending. And we rarely did that because usually we have what we needed. Now, why would I tell you this story? Because now I'm thinking about schools. In New York, we're putting our budget together here. I mean, we're trying to at least put our budget together. And our amazing governor here, also known as our queen, Queen Kathy, first of her name, banisher of conservatives, lover of the jab, and she who speaks to God, as she said, she did tell us this, she's deciding to put together this budget. And technology is involved here. It is involved here. And I get it. My kid, I have two kids. My youngest one's in school still. And the worry is, for her, AI. Should she be using AI, not using AI? And her schools are often trying to ban AI. Don't use AI, ban AI. Well, now our governor's saying she wants to ban cell phones. All right, you might go, Larry, is that a bad idea? Do we not want our kids, to be focused on school? Maybe. Not against the idea necessarily. Some schools have already tried it. Some areas have tried it. Over a dozen states have tried it. And so far, the outcome is virtually no difference. So far. Now, will it change? Maybe. But so far, no difference. There's been one study in Norway, I'm not joking, one study in Norway, that does show that middle school girls, only middle school and only girls, have actual better outcomes when you ban cell phones during the day. Now, in New York, the goal is what they call the bell to bell. So the whole day, no phones in school at all. It's part of their distraction-free answer. Now, while I'm not necessarily against the idea, I mean, it may work. Here's what I am against. And you're going to guess already. Number one, why is it statewide? Why? Because since we don't know if it works, there's no evidence to say it does work. Why aren't we just letting school districts do as they see fit? And then looking at it and going, this works, this doesn't. Not just that there are multiple ways of banning. You could ban the entire day. You could say ban during the classroom. You could say ban except for lunch. There's many ways of doing it. To be forward, I don't know which one works or doesn't work. I don't. Neither do you. Neither does she. Neither does our Board of Education, Board of Regents. Neither does our assembly. None of them do. So instead of just saying, I'm going to go do it and I'm going to ban stuff, why don't we figure this out? This reminds me of about 5 years ago when we had the virus running around New York State and they decided ban first and ask questions later. The concept is the same. Is it best to have kids work with their phones in school? I don't know. Is it better to ban it completely? I don't know. What I know is the state deciding to ban it without knowing anything, that is a bad idea because we don't know. That's the issue. But yet again, I'm going to do something. You might go, Larry, you don't get it. You don't understand this. Our amazing monarch, Queen Kathy, knows better. She talks to God, and probably God told her this. That's probably what happened. Okay, if that's true, then I'll be okay, but maybe she should tell us that at least. Right? Tell us that then. Maybe that. But she didn't. So why don't we instead let people do it as they see fit within each school district to learn? I go one step further. One step further. This isn't a law. Oh, no. This isn't the Board of Regents with a policy. Oh, no. This is done through our budget. Yeah. But Larry, wait a minute. That can't be true because our budget is about funding the laws that we make and the rules that we have. It's about funding our government. No, it isn't. That would be amazing. That's what it's supposed to be. No, the budget is a way of getting around that. It's to make sure that you as a New Yorker have literally no say at all in where our money goes. Because if you knew, you'd probably stop it. Because what does this come with? You're going to go, Larry, nothing. She just loves our children. Oh, no, it's a $13 to $14 million giveaway. Of course it is. Because it always is. Larry, it's for the children. No, it's not. It's for the people who buy those bags. Yes, the bags where you put the phones in. Yeah, yonder bags, whatever you call them. Yeah, those bags. And people who, vendors and such. Yet again, her cronies. She will give out jobs. $13 million worth of jobs. Love it. Now, are they a New York State company? Probably not. Who cares? What matters is, will her consultants get paid? And I get it. I do. That's what actually matters. So it's $13 to $14 million giveaway to her friends because she cares about the kids. That's the issue. Now, if you as a voter knew that, you might say no. Well, you don't get to decide. And the best part is, now, when the assembly gives your money away and you go, hey, you gave our money away. You go, I didn't give our money away. It was in the budget. It was the budget. It wasn't me. What do you mean it wasn't you? Well, it was the budget. We didn't pass a law. If you didn't pass a law, how is it legal? Oh, because we don't care in New York State, and our judges are an embarrassment, and they will never step in. Our judges will never step in and say, you can't write laws in the budget. You can't just do that. They go, oh, great, more money for my cronies? Right away. And great, since it's not a law, I'm not going to say anything. So I'm off the hook too. So the best part about being in government in New York State, of all the great things, and there are many, grifting, usually being untouchable, unless the feds come after you, usually being untouchable, right? Grifting like there's no tomorrow. The best part is zero accountability. Isn't that amazing? You get a great benefits, great check, right? Generally speaking, you grift like there's no tomorrow and no accountability. And you wonder why I ran for governor. It's the best job in the state. You kidding me? It's the best job in the state. And you make lots of friends by giving people a bunch of money. It's not even your money. There's the best part. It's not your money. You give other people's money away, and they pat you on the back and treat you like royalty. That's New York State. So you might have thought, well, Larry, I thought this was about like cell phones in school. Well, it is. It is. But you were probably thinking, well, Larry, this is important for our children. We should really think this through and decide what makes the most sense for them, because we want them to be, learning and getting the best out of school. No, that doesn't matter. If that mattered, we'd be thinking about things like better teachers, or getting rid of some of our administrators, or better curriculum, or getting rid of strings attached from the federal government. Did you hear any of that? No, because that's not the goal. The goal is, how can I use my education budget? How can I pretend like I care about kids when I don't, to grift and make more money and to give cash to my buddies? That's it. Remember earlier this year, she says she can teach black kids to swim. Remember that one? That was when she gave her construction buddies money. Now she's giving more contractors money. Man, are we rocking and rolling or what? New York State. Thoroughly impressive. Am I wrong? Do I hate the kids? Tell me. 585-346-3000. Larry Sharpe on Sharpe Way Radio, the voice of liberty. Back with your calls and your chat after the break.
For the last couple of years, Joe Robach has been telling you about Flower City Collision in Henrietta, saying that it was started by a veteran along with his son, Zach. Hi, my name is Greg Sadwick, and I am that veteran. I want to thank the WYSL listeners for their support over the last couple of years. During those years, not only have I experienced the gratification of providing you the best repairs and customer service, it has also allowed me the opportunity to see my son develop as a young professional. So remember, Flower City Collision for your collision repair needs. And thank you for supporting our locally owned family business.
Most banks offer you a choice. Or maybe it would be better to say they demand a choice. Technology so you can bank like you want to, or relationships so you can get advice when you need it. But when you choose to bank with Tompkins, you can have it all. Powerful technology and the power of a face-to-face talk about your future. Because both are part of the best banking relationship you'll ever have. Tompkins, your bank of choice. Open an account today at tompkinsbank.com.
Only available in the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com. Official top quality tees, hoodies depicting the colorful WYSL logo, or the already famous Mount Rushmore line of merch depicting Mount Rushmore style are for worst presidents. Of course, you know who is front and center up on that mountain. WYSL official items make perfect gifts, or they're a great way for you to make a personal statement. Locally produced and sold only in the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com.
Sharpe Way Radio on the WYSL stations.
Oh, yes, it is Larry Sharpe. Sharpe Way Radio on the voice of liberty in glorious Western New York. 888-346-3000 is the number. You know, I'm getting a bunch of text and a bunch of comments in the chat about this issue, which is funny. I didn't realize it would be that important, but people really like it. Morgan says, how about instead of banning cell phones, they're integrated into classes?
Keith.
Get the high score on a test. That student gets to use their cell phone on the test for the next question. I don't know. Cell phones are here to stay. Need a better system than outright banning them. Morgan, I actually don't know if that would work. I'm not against the idea. I go back to my original piece. Let the school districts decide. Let them test it and see if that works. Here's my problem. If banning cell phones is a good idea, we're lucky. Great. Good for us. What if it's not? And there is some data that says that if we let the kids not have the cell phone certain period of time, they actually use it more afterwards because it's almost like a drug. They jump on it. I don't know if that's true, but what if it is? We won't change this policy for a decade at least. We will do what we always do. Ruin a generation of kids. We did it with Common Core, and we'll do it with this. Your point may be valid. Let's figure it out. Let me grab a call if I could. This is Keith. Keith, how are you, sir?
Okay, there's a second caller in line, so I might have to keep it short.
Okay.
I agree with that chat person so far as wouldn't you and even me, real old school, have to agree that I wherever my eyes cast nowadays, I see people using their electronic gadgets all over the place. It's like when I was in school, the nerds would walk around with slide rules.
Yes.
And, I could use a slide rule, but there were several kids down there in Kentucky who were really smart. Oh, they were. But using that analogy, then I have another comment. Use that technology.
Two more calls.
The young people love and cherish so much. They should be encouraged to use that within a learning environment, like that chat person said. If it can be all brought together, melded together, that would be a good learning technique. I also wanted to mention, I'm still fascinated that you learn trigonometry in the Marines. That's getting a little bit old in life. They say learning is harder as you get older. How did you get through the core learning that trig? Was it a good learning adventure, or did it really was it a task to have to go through it for the artillery? I want to say that tying in with a cell phone, in closing, if we could get our young people really happy about just simply the love of learning for the love of learning, that like with you and the trig and the core, that our young people, I think a lot of young people today don't like to learn, and whatever in closing facilitates that learning process, whether it be cell phones or anything else, I would say go with it. I wouldn't ban it. I want our young people to learn, in other words, and a lot of them are not learning. You and I used to ask about seat time. What are they really learning? And they go to school, and it's taken up with all kinds of stuff.
So let me touch a bunch of those. First one is the integration piece. I think it makes sense. I think what Morgan said makes. I think what you're saying, Keith, makes sense, right? Integration, and the reason is, I'll go back to my Marine Corps days. Whenever you want to train someone for combat, you want to make sure that it's as close to as real as you can get.
Mike.
If you ever notice, and if you ever watch any TV show or movies, when they're training people, you will often see like explosions and loud and people yelling and screaming. And it's all like either, fake or whatever, but it's there to make the person get it, right? You want to make it as close as possible, scenario training, so that when they get there, it is not as foreign as it could be, and they can react effectively. With that in mind, what Morgan and Keith, what you're both saying is, people are going to have their cell phones when you're at your work, when you're at your job, when you're with your friends. So why wouldn't you want them to somehow have that? Of course you would. Integration seems like exactly the right answer. And we're not doing that because we don't care, because we don't get paid off that. How do I give my $13 million out if I just tell them to integrate? Unless now, here's a scam. You have to hire integration consultants. Now we're rocking and rolling. They didn't think of that. So anybody listening right now, become an integration consultant tomorrow. You require exactly 0 credentials. You can go do that. Go get Kathy to give you some cash. Get your handouts. That's the right answer. Last piece of trigonometry. It was an actual classroom situation. I went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Those of you who may know, that's where the American military trains its artillerymen. And I was in fire direction control. That's what I was doing. And in surveying also. So with that in mind, they just put us through a multiple month level class, taught us trigonometry, taught us how it works in the field, put us out in the field, actually had us fire the weapons on the grounds. So we did. It was scenario training. That's what it was. We're going to call if I could. By the way, thank you for that, Keith. This is Mike. Mike, how are you, sir?
Hey, Larry, pretty good. I'm going to agree with Keith to go integrate our technology with our students. But there's a reason why. There's a reason why Queen Kathy, the first of her name, does not want phones in the schools. Because the phones, we've learned through the COVID, of watching our kids being indoctrinated at home with their iPads and computers. Now in the school districts, it's showing the light of the communist, liberal, socialist agendas, the LGBTQ flag flying freaks, and the indoctrination of our children, the fighting in school. Nobody has the controls. What happens is not just being in the internet. Your phone is your camera.
Yes.
Okay. And a video, a video's worth a million words.
That is brilliant. In fact, you just triggered somebody. Nathan online just said, "Oh, students can record." I hadn't thought of that. Mike, you just triggered people online by that. I appreciate that. That's amazing. Yes, I think you're right. Now, hold on. Are you saying that the secondary reason they don't want phones, or is that the primary reason?
Personally, I think it's the primary reason. I think New York schools bite the dust so bad, that if people really, really watch what their kids are being taught by their teachers and paying attention, people be a little bit more upset. You see people more at the school board meetings, But you know what it is? Our society right now likes to watch ball games, instead of paying attention, you know what, the Bills, whatever. I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to watch these people. I'm going to follow all these people. No, you need to be following with your kids' education, because
I like the idea.
Comes and goes.
My thought process was they wouldn't want to record, again, your point, like when there's fights in schools and such, and that would make them look bad. But you're right. It wouldn't just be that, because I remember during the lockdowns, so many people, I'll say parents, so many, and I was one of them, to be forward. I had 2 kids in school at the time. We didn't really watch exactly what our kids were learning. We were assuming it was good or decent, and we figured if something went wrong, the kids would tell us. And you know what? When I look back at that, that was kind of silly, because how would the kids know it's wrong? They're kids, right? I would know it's wrong. Mike, you would know it's wrong, but they're kids. They're not going to know it's wrong. They're going to assume, oh, my teacher said it, therefore it's right. And when parents saw what they were being taught, how they were being treated, what was actually important, it did make a lot of people go, wait a minute, something's wrong. We got more engaged. We had more pushback. We saw what a bunch of tyrants so many of the people in the school system are and were. We saw how they acted. So yeah, I'm with you, Mike. I think you're right. You're right. Mike, thanks for that call, my friend. I appreciate it. I got more calls I will get to, I promise you. Larry Sharpe here on the Voice of Liberty here in West New York. Sharpe Radio, 585-346-3000. Back with your calls and the chat after the break.
Okay, next call will be Jerry.
God bless America.
WYSL.
AM 1040 Avon Rochester, WLEA WCKR FM Pornell.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for tonight. Showers and storms clearing, breezy, turning noticeably colder into the 30s, low 40s on Wednesday. Clearing skies, a much cooler day, but a dry and a quiet day coming up. Temperatures in the low 50s on Thursday. We see temperatures bounce back well up into the 60s, but some showers return to the region. I'm Rich Canelia for the Voice of Liberty.
Canisteo Valley Update.
If you look at the website today, EmpireReportNewYork.com, they're going with what the governor says, and the governor says a budget deal has been worked out. But Republican Assemblyman Joseph Belinsky's not quite sure that's 100% true.
I don't know if it's real or not, because the governor has done this where she says there is an agreement, and there really isn't one, just to try and force an agreement. So today in Albany, we are voting on another extender. I still don't know for sure when we are voting on actual budget bills, but this may be, at least to some degree, gamesmanship from the governor. So we will see. I think it does signal that we are getting closer to the end, but just because the governor says it, it doesn't mean it's necessarily so.
Republican Assemblyman Joseph Belinsky there. Brian O'Neill for the Voice of Liberty.
It's no secret, every business wants employees who are committed to doing a great job. I'm Steve Tasker, and I'd like to tell you about an easy way to reach a largely untapped pool of skilled job seekers. It's called the Employment Alliance, and it's part of Heritage Christian Services. Together, they bring new talent to businesses by matching people who have disabilities with employment opportunities. The Employment Alliance works with businesses to find talent and offer on-site job coaching. They'll also work with your business to develop individualized training plans, support diversity initiatives, and enhance your community connection and customer base. More than 100 area businesses have already benefited from working with the Employment Alliance. Even better, they're giving people with disabilities the opportunity to do meaningful work and demonstrating that they value equal opportunity and diversity. The Employment Alliance is a proud part of Heritage Christian Services. To learn more, visit hcsemploymentalliance.org.
At the Ryan Agencies, we see costs rising, and we're ready to help. If it's been a while since an expert reviewed your insurance, give us a call. We'll find small tweaks that can result in big savings and better protection. The Ryan Agencies, your local insurance inflation fighters.
Insurance protection you can rely on. The Ryan Agency.
Take it.
How's that, Zach?
Terrific, man. Hold on. Hello.
Honey, we need central air, but everyone I call says we have to wait weeks.
What's a skinny, Zach?
We want to get central air, but no one has equipment in stock.
Taylor does. They have systems ready to install. Just call 500 HELP.
500 HELP? Now that's a cool number.
I think I'm really getting it, man.
Call Taylor, 500 HELP.
Are you in need of a top-notch general surgeon? Look no further than UR Medicine Noise Health, your trusted healthcare partner. At Noise Health, we prioritize your well-being, offering state-of-the-art facilities at 2 convenient locations. Our team of highly skilled surgeons is dedicated to your care, so choose UR Medicine Noise Health for a surgical experience that goes beyond your expectations. Call 585-335-7179 to schedule your consultation today.
If you own your own business and need garbage removal, contact Lippincotts. And if you live in a town where you have to take care of your own garbage removal, contact Lippincotts. If you need garbage dumpsters, Lippincotts rents them, and Lippincotts can come pick up the garbage too. These days, you don't throw old electronic items in the trash, and Lippincotts can remove your old electronics. Lippincotts for garbage removal, recycling, hauling, removal of asbestos or electronic items. For a free quote, visit LippinCottsRubbishInc.com. LippinCottsRubbishInc.com.
Geneseo Hardware and Rental has all your project needs from inside to outside, underground or in the air. A large selection of hardware, plumbing, electrical, lawn, garden, A wide range of rental items, open 7 days a week. Geneseo Hardware and Rental, Route 20A next to Wegmans Plaza.
The National Warplane Museum in Geneseo, New York is gearing up for another great season. They have several aircraft and many exhibits to enjoy. Bring the whole family. For information and hours, see nationalwarplanemuseum.com.
Sharpe Way Radio on the WYSL stations.
Oh, yes, it is Larry Sharpe here on Sharpe Way Radio, on the voice of Liberty in Western New York. 585-346-3000 is the number. So happy that you're here with me. I've been talking about education. I've been talking about the budget and everything else around. And it always comes back to the cash, doesn't it? A lot of good calls today, and people are concerned. Let me grab one more call if I could. This is Jerry. Jerry, how are you?
I'm doing okay. Got a sore calf from a skiing injury last week in Utah, but I'm back in Philly now and bring you greetings from the city of brotherly love. And want to let you know I appreciate what you're doing for my former home state where I was born and educated, New York State. And, you know, what you said about the Queen today had me thinking. And that is, I had this idea that maybe we could end corruption. But, you know, given what Pelosi does, ask what Biden's done, there's going to be corruption. So maybe we should put something in the budget, a corruption line item, and allow like $1 a taxpayer or whatever to go towards a slush fund for our politicians to be corrupt. But at least we'll keep an eye on it. And
that's an interesting idea. So you're saying they're going to be corrupt anyway. So let's make it so that they don't get in trouble for it. And at least we know what's up. So we say, all right, look, you guys are scammers. Here's 1% of the budget. And you can fight over that and scam over that. That's your slush fund. Give it to your friends and your buddies, whatever, and do that. And then that's it.
And we'll even give you a preemptive pardon if any of it is illegal.
Wow, so you get to do illegal stuff.
If you want to, at 1%. But after that, you're in trouble.
I get the concept. I do. Here is my worry. I get your concept. If you give me 1% to scam, I'm going to try to get 2. I'm going to try to get 3. I'm going to keep going, right? So once you give me the 1% that is now mine, within like 2 years, whatever, I'm going to start thinking that I deserve that 1%. I deserve that corruption that you've given me, Jerry. And I think because I'm cooler than the last guy, for whatever reason I decide, I should get even more. Do you think greed would do it or no?
Well, moving to education, I think that's what has been happening with our universities.
Oh.
My alma mater is up there, up in upper Western New York State. You mentioned it in some of the advertisements. And, it's a university where any person was supposed to get an education in any subject. Unfortunately, during the C period of our country, any person that chose to not accept mandates was not considered a person.
I remember
so they
that.
couldn't get an education there anymore. And
I remember that very clearly.
And hopefully that time has ended. A lot of people want to brush this under the rug. And I think that would be great if there was some way to keep it from happening again. I'd be happy to say, let bygones be bygones. Let's move forward in a better way. But what sort of assurances can we make or have now so that our New York State universities don't fall back into that old paradigm?
Well, you bring up a very important part, Jerry, which I've said publicly more than once. In fact, you were there one time in Albany when I said it at an event in Albany. And what I said was, if the people who locked us down, trashed our kids, trashed our schools, trashed our businesses, wrecked our economy, scarred so many New Yorkers, if they actually want grace, I'm open to it like you are. However, there's a massive however. Are you telling me that you just didn't know enough? And that was the reason you made a mistake because you didn't know enough? Or are you saying we had no right to do that at all, and we were afraid, and we made a mistake, and we screwed up because we were afraid, and now we know that we should have never done that? The Constitution doesn't allow us to do that. Everything we did was illegal. It doesn't matter if it was right or wrong, and we made a mistake because we were afraid and we're sorry. If you're telling me that, Jerry, I'm in. I'm happy to give people grace for making a mistake because they were scared. No worries. But I think you and I both know, which is why you're concerned, Jerry, that's not what they're saying. What they're saying is, well, we just didn't know enough. If we knew more, then we can destroy your lives. Then we can wreck you. I'm not okay with that.
No, I'm not either. But I would accept the first assertion if then what came was we promised not to do it again. We promised to listen. We promised to be wiser. We promised to listen to the people and not shut them down and not take them off social media. Then I'd be more amenable. They don't have to, accept the total accountability that you would love to see. I'd love to see that too. But I'm starting to realize that ain't going to come.
Yeah, you're right. I would, again, would I like to see some of them punished? Yes, but I get it. That's not going to happen. That's a fantasy, right? It's not going to happen. So would I just accept them saying, wow, we were wrong. We'll never do it again? I'm with you, Jerry. I would take that because that's the best we're going to get if I even get that. Jerry, I'm glad you're back on the East Coast. We have to get together. I will buzz you soon.
I'll try and make it up to Albany on the 14th. I hope there's a great turnout.
All righty. I'll talk to you soon. So I think Jerry's right. It would be nice. So Jean says she's on my side on that one. She's like, dear Jerry, have you ever heard the expression, give them an inch, they'll take a mile? That's my worry, Jean. Now, do I get where he's going with it? I do, right? Logically, it makes total sense. I get it. You give someone a pen and say, stay in that pen, right? I get it. And would some people do it? I think some would. Would that type of system maybe reduce corruption? Maybe. And again, I'll go back to my original point. If some local groups want to try something like that, give it a shot. And we'll see. Does it over time reduce corruption or not? I think it might. You might have the one guy or gal who's like, I'm taking 7 miles. At least if that person does it, we can literally look at them and go, dude, what's wrong with you? We gave you 1%. You had to take 7%? That's it. Jail forever. So there may be that. It's possible. That's all I'm saying, Gene. Maybe. Morgan says, last time I checked, there was something that was supposed to keep us from being corrupted. What's that thing called again? Oh, yeah, the Constitution. Yeah, Morgan, but they don't really care about that. That gets in the way of grifting. See, so that's not really a thing for them. They don't, and I wish I was joking. There's actual data on this, and people say it. Remember, there is no requirement for a lawmaker, assemblyman, congressperson, whatever case may be. There's no requirement for them to be literate in the Constitution, to be literate at all. No requirement. Many of them have never read the Constitution. I'm not joking. They don't understand it, and they don't care about it. And they will tell you to your face. They don't look at that. They'll say, that's not my job. I make laws. Whose job is it to decide if it's the Constitution or not? It's the judges, who I keep hammering almost every week here on this show. They're supposed to be the ones to stop this. Literally, their job is to judge. It's in the name. Like it's in the name. Judge. You're supposed to judge. So when the brain dead chimps in our assembly make horrible laws, the judges go, wait a minute, I'm going to go do my job, which is to judge. And I'm going to judge this not against my political party or my political affiliations, but against that piece of paper you talked about, Morgan, the Constitution, and say, does this work? Oh, it doesn't. Then it's not a law. And I can do that because I'm a judge. I can say That's not a law. Why? It's unconstitutional. They're supposed to know. But they don't do that, Morgan. What the judges do is go, oh, did my party pass that law? Then it's a law. Did the other party pass that law? Then it's obviously not a law. That's how they do it. This is the problem. Morgan goes on to say, accountability from the elite, good luck. Yeah, look, Jerry's easier than me. I want more than Jerry wants. Jerry's more lenient than I am, right? He's like, okay, look, just say you're sorry. I want more. But I would take the sorry. I would just take it because you're right, Morgan. Am I going to get that? No, I'm not going to get that at all. I wish I could. It would be amazing if I could. I'm just not seeing this. I can hardly imagine that kind of thing happening. So, in any case, the piece that I thought was more interesting here was the idea of them being concerned about the recording piece. Because, there's a whole lot of stuff happening right now. Buffalo, but I don't want to go into Buffalo yet. The details aren't out yet. But let's just say there are some accusations. That's what I will say. Allegedly, don't want to get sued. Don't want to get the station in trouble. Allegedly, there are some very negative accusations that might be real. That's all I'm saying. And so we're going to see where that's going. But if kids were recording, oh, that's going to be a big deal. Yes, absolutely. So, any case, King Kong Ortiz says, big success in my school. High school boys chatting and playing at lunch and breaks instead of glued to a phone. Bell to bell all the way. They're less addicted to phones than I am. Great to see. I'm not saying you're wrong, King Kong, at all. I just wish we'd actually do a test here in New York State, have some real data, and then let the schools decide. Again, not saying you're wrong. What I'm saying is I don't know. You might know. Maybe you should be one of them consultants. Maybe you should be that. Get your cut. Our assembly does not know, and Queen Kathy does not know. So I think your next gig is consultant. Am I right? You can tell me. Larry Sharpe here on Sharpe Radio on the Voice of Liberty in Western New York. 585-346-3000. Back with your calls and your chat after the break.
Donald Trump and conservatives may have won, but the left will unceasingly try to undermine society and spread evil, targeting the innocent and God-fearing, especially our children. Help promote a truth-based society and try something different in 2025. The WYSL stations can grow your business, professional practice, or organization, so allocate your ad dollars here. Reach our huge audience, entertained, inspired, and informed by leading conservative thought. Affordable, effective. The WYSL stations, the voice of liberty. Call 585-346-3000 to advertise.
When we come back, I'm going to play a quick Hoku clip.
If you're looking to market and grow your business, make new business connections, and get
Just to prepare you, it's where she said she doesn't need numbers to justify gun control. I guess she doesn't need numbers to justify cell phone control, correct?
marketing, insurance, and advocacy.
Yep, I figured it just was a good analogy.
Our members come from throughout the region. In short, we are better together, and together we can move your business forward. Visit greasechamber.org or call 585-227-7272 to join today. You'll be glad you did.
Avon Gun and Hunting Supply, a locally owned and operated gun shop specializing in pre-owned firearms and repairs. Get your rifle, shotgun, or pistol serviced and tuned before you take it to the field. Open from 10 a.m. Tuesday through Saturday. Avon Gun, East Main Street, next to Tompkins Community Bank.
Sharpe Way Radio on the WYSL stations.
I don't need to have numbers. I don't have to have a data point regardless of a number or two. I don't need a data point to make the case that I have a responsibility to protect the people of this state.
See that? She doesn't need stupid numbers. She don't need no stinking data. She don't need that. Shh. Data. That's for chumps. All right, that's what they need. She speaks to God, okay? And again, I want to be clear. She said that. I want to be clear. I'm not making that up. She said that. So God probably told her what the numbers are. I just wish you let us know. So I'm sorry, from our last segment, King Kong Ortiz, you're saying it's successful or not. It doesn't matter. She doesn't need your stinking data. She doesn't need that. Facts, figures, numbers. She's a queen. What she says is true. What she says is law. What's your problem? You guys and your data and numbers. Like you're so cool. Come on now. John says, passing horrible things within the budget is how Cuomo was able to increase the signature threshold for ballot access petitions. Yes. Yes. This budget thing that we do in New York State is terrible. Okay. If you're listening to the show, you've heard the news that just came out, how Her Majesty did say that they have a budget deal. But then the people there said, no, we don't have a budget deal. Who said that? You might have one. We don't have anything. I don't know what this we is. You got a frog in your pocket? It's not us. So why? And why would it be such a problem? One would think that the budget would be, as Nathan says, the budget should be about, get this, the budget. He is correct. Now, in theory, what you would do is you would say, well, here are all the laws that we agreed upon that Larry wants to vomit because he can't stand them all. But yes, we've done it anyway. We have purposely trolled Larry, and now he's thrown up because of it. But we've done so. Here are our laws. And we think that all these laws require this amount of money to enforce. So let's give the budget for the laws that we've enforced. That shouldn't be that crazy. In fact, in theory, there should be a flat amount of money. We only have X dollars, and we have Y laws to enforce. Let's divvy it up and do it. We would think that's what you would do. That's not how we do things. That's not how we do things. That's how you have to do things in your own life. That's how you have to do things in your own family. That's not New York. New York says, oh, what laws are in New York State, and most states, but in New York State, what laws are, is they're not directives. What laws are places to put money. I'm not joking. If you notice, every single time Kathy Hochul talks about her new law or rule, there's always money assigned to it. Every single time. That's what laws are. So why wouldn't you make it the budget? It actually makes sense, Nathan. Laws aren't rules. I mean, they are, but she doesn't care about those rules. She doesn't follow any of them. None of those rules she makes affects her. None of them do. She doesn't care. That's just stuff you plebes got to worry about. You poors worry about that. That's not for me. So I don't care about whatever. Make all the rules. Who cares? I care about how do I give money out to my friends. That's all I care about. Again, I wish I was joking, but I'm not. So why wouldn't you put in the budget? It makes total sense. Every law is just cash to friends.
Roger.
When it's cash to friends, I put it in the budget. So they're actually fighting over what they all care about. They don't care about laws. They care about cash. That's why the battle for the laws, that's easy. That's done. The battle is for the cash. That's why the budget is such a big battle here. Does she care whether kids have cell phones or not? No. She cares if she can assign that $13 million to her buddies. Let me get on the call if I could. This is Roger. How are you, sir?
All right, Larry.
What's going on?
So, absolutely, phones should be taken out of the classroom. I mean, we didn't have phones in the classroom. I'm pretty sure that's annoying to the teacher. The teacher wants you focused on them.
Yes. However, let me give you a little bit of pushback. Do we want to have it to where when the kids come in, they put the phone in the bag and then they sit in the classroom without the phone? Do we want to have it to where they can grab it from their locker when they go to lunch? Do we want to have it where they can't have it at all for the 6 hours? Do we want to have it to where they can't bring it to school? There's different ways of banning also. It isn't just one way.
No, that would be dependent upon the school board. Okay.
Yes.
So
my point. Yes.
You can't do that. You can say as the governor, no schools, no phones in the classroom, whatever the case is, right? And then leave it up to the school board to decide.
I'd be okay with that. Yep.
So for Mike, socialism is the advocacy of an economy owned and controlled by workers, where we cooperatively own companies, supply chains, manufacturing, production, distribution. Government has nothing to do with it. I know people on the right just like to conflate everything, just like how people on the left mistake libertarian for conservative, for Republican, and I know that gets under your skin. It's like, we're not the same.
Yep, it's true.
As far as them teaching all of that other stuff he was talking about, the core of what's supposed to be taught is really supposed to be non-political. I mean, math, science, English, gym. If you're in high school or junior high, vocational studies, the only thing that you could really get controversial over is social studies, history. That's where the challenging of history should come into fruition, where, I mean, you could challenge science, but you show through experimentation in the classroom. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
Judges
I'm with you on all these things. And this goes back to my point. I don't expect, Roger, that the governor knows everything about education. I don't even expect the Board of Regents to know everything about education. I don't expect King Kong Ortiz to know everything about education, or you. What I expect is for the school boards to be able to figure this out on their own. And again, what we found out the hard way, and I go back to Common Core always, is there is a small chunk of students who actually learn better on Common Core. But instead of us allowing our teachers to decide which kids should learn on Common Core so that those kids could excel, right, because they learn better on that, we just gave everybody Common Core. Why? Because money. That's my whole problem. Because money.
Yeah. So judges being partisan happens on both sides. Get rid of the parties. And as far as like doing the budget, how you was talking about, get money for my friends. What about if we had a state constitutional amendment that the voters have to sign off on it?
Ooh, so the voters have to approve the budget?
That's
not bad.
So once the governor and the legislature says, okay, people, we agreed on this budget, have at it. We're going to put it on the ballot. How do you feel about it?
So, okay, but here's the problem. What happens if we don't approve it?
Well, then that's their problem.
Okay, I'll buy it. No, I'm in. I love the idea. So because it's our tax dollars, so we have to approve the budget. Well, you know what I like about that idea is at least it makes them accountable, which right now they're not. So you know what? I'm in. Roger, thanks for that call. I'm up on ending the show today, so I appreciate the phone call. Guys, I want to say once again, thank you so much for hearing me out, hearing my fun stories. I hope you see how much I love New York, and I'm trying to make it better. I want to say thank you so much for giving me a small chunk of your afternoon. I will see you all very soon.